Democracy for Cuba may be the end goal, but it cannot be the only goal. Obama must remove the restrictions on Cuba before the establishment of a democratic government in the name of human rights. Historically, U.S.-Cuban relations have been tumultuous at best. Following the 1959 Cuban Revolution, which prompted Fidel Castro's monopoly on power, the U.S. severed diplomatic ties with its neighbor. Additionally, the U.S. placed an embargo on Cuba that outlawed U.S. companies from conducting business with the nation. The most damaging restrictions to both countries were the U.S.'s refusal to buy Cuban oil or Cuban sugar. One exception to the policy of ostracizing Cuba are the now-to-be-defunct Guantanamo Bay prisons. Tensions tightened with the 1960 explosion of a freighter in the Havana harbor. Castro blamed the explosion and 75 deaths on the U.S. with little evidence. Such behavior in part prompted President Eisenhower's authorization of the CIA to recruit, train, and outfit a guerrilla force composed of Cuban refugees in order to overthrow Castro. Following the unsuccessful Bay of Pigs invasion, the Kennedy administration severed ties with Cuba in 1961. Besides this highly publicized attempt to overthrow Castro, the U.S., between 1960 and 1965, has confirmed over 8 plans to kill the Cuban leader. More recently, in 2006, the State Department added Cuba to the state sponsor of terror list, furthering the political divide between the geographically proximate nations. Trade relations declined as severely as political ones. Kennedy furthered Eisenhower's trade restrictions in 1962 to include a ban on all trade with the exception of non-subsidized sale of foods and medicines. In 1963, travel and financial transaction by U.S. citizens with Cuba was added to the list of bans. In more recent years, the U.S. implemented the 1992 Cuban Democracy Act, known as the Torricelli Law, and the 1996 Cuban Liberty and Democracy Solidarity Act, known as the Helms-Burton Act. The Torricelli Law prohibited subsidiaries of U.S. companies trading with or traveling to or sending family remittances to Cuba with the goal of promoting a peaceful transition to democracy in Cuba. As well, the law attempted to bring the international standard of human rights to Cuba by forcing, through economic strangulation, a democratic system of governments. The latter act, the Helms-Burton Act, strengthened the embargo on Cuba by penalizing non-U.S. companies who dealt with Cuba, essentially forcing the international community to choose between economic relations with the small communist country and the global economic hegemon. The law also employed soft power, as evidenced by the deliberate broadcasting of U.S. television in Cuba. In February of 2008, Castro resigned from office due to illness, over a year after he transferred much power to his brother Raul. Nonetheless, in 2009, U.S.-Cuban relations are essentially non-existent. The Obama campaign indicated that travel and remittance restrictions would be lessened. Putting rhetoric into action, Congress approved a March 10th bill easing some travel and trade restrictions. However, especially in the current global economic crisis, such changes are not enough. U.S. policies since the 1960s aimed at weakening Castro's communist regime have failed, prodigiously impairing the innocent Cuban population at little cost to their leaders. The Obama administration has a responsibility not only to the American people, but also the international community at large, to further the establishment of relations with and the opening of Cuba. Democracy for Cuba may be the end goal, but it cannot be the only goal. In the meantime, Obama must remove the plethora of restrictions on Cuba in order to improve the lives of the everyday citizen of the nation.
Dear Secretary Clinton and the Honorable President